Alrighty, we're coming to the end of Big 2025, and I'm here to give you the first tier list of fucking December, okay, on the Barry Ben channel. Now, if you feel like sticking around, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Corporate's reached out, we gotta get global, alright? We gotta start moving, making some moves in the big scene. Now, that being said, it's only if you like the video. Now, moving past that, corporate ad read out of the way, I've got a tier list here today. There is a current champion in Big UFC, in the Big 185 division, and let's just be honest, call a spade a spade. He's only going to fight once a year. Let's just keep it a buck, all right? So there's a bunch of matchups that we'll never get to see because this guy's going to fight like 5 times and have 15 years of being champion. He gets injured all the time. He gets sick all the time. He's very prone to autoimmune diseases, from the looks of things. Not knocking the guy for that stuff, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? But like, we're just gonna be stuck with one championship fight in the middleweight division a year. Now, with that being said, I do want to talk about some of the matchups that are a little bit interesting, and I've put my own flair in a few of these. Some from different divisions, depending on if they give him treatment and he decides to jump divisions. Other people decide to jump divisions. You know what I mean? So you're going to see a bunch of different faces here that I picked out. Ignore the duplicate. I like to call him Reiner de Ritter. Some people call him, Demigorgon or something like I don't know. But, with that being said, we're going to be going through a list of names here, and we're going to be ranking them how they would do against Khamzat Chimaev, because as much as we're going to shit on him, and when I say we, I do mean we are going to be shitting on him throughout his entire championship reign, having one title defense every 2 years or some shit like that. There's some people that could beat Khamzat Chimaev. He's really good. He is really good. I'm not going to knock him on his skills. He's got skills. But he has been breakable in fights, and I think there will be eventually a guy who breaks him unless he quits due to being sick all the time. That's entirely possible. I think that's what happened with Zabit Magomedsharipov, or whatever the fuck his name was. So, without further ado, let's get to some of these names. Actually, at first, I should probably mention, so this category is going to be reserved for would pick, aka I would pick them to beat Khamzat Chimaev. Maybe not with 100% confidence, but I'd at least have enough confidence to be like, yeah, I see where this guy does well, and I see where that guy does poorly, And then we have a 50-50. This is like, maybe I see, like, one of them's got staph infection. Okay, I'll pick the other one. Maybe we're coming down to the wire, and it's like, they look shit on the scales. Maybe Khamzat rumored he had a broken hand in camp, and then I'm picking the other. You know what I mean? Like, certain situations like that, where I might be willing to pick either side. Then we have not close. Basically, anyone who would probably not have anything more than a puncher's chance, meaning they would have to fluke KO Khamzat Chimaev or submit Khamzat Chimaev, something like that, out of nowhere after Khamzat gasses or something like that. Outside of that, they've got no fucking chance outside of like a fluky KO. Then we have no chance, meaning there is not a alternate reality that I see Khamzat Chimaev losing to this person. And then we have dies in the cage. And that's, Khamzat Chimaev, he likes to talk about how he kill everybody, brother. Okay, so there might be some murders, okay, in that octagon when Khamzat Chimaev pulls up on some of these names. So we're going to put these people in the list. I've got a decent few amount of people. Some you may recognize, some maybe not in the UFC, but could make their debut. You never know. Some former UFC competitors as well. I'm looking at this one over here. Jesus Christ, Hezbollah is fucking terrified in that picture. F in the chat for the homie Hezbollah. He will be missed. Anyways, he got baited in with the baby oil. Hey, we saw it one time. It just happened again, It is what it is. Anyways, Roman Dolidze. I think he'd die. Now, Roman, for some reason, beats people somehow, some way. Had a very close fight with Amavov due to Amavov losing 2 points. Oh my god, I hate Roman Dolidze fights, man. And he did get fraud checked via Anthony Hernandez. And while it's not a bad loss, I think that fight really showcased, bro, Roman does suck. Outside of being dangerous on the ground, Dude, his gas tank is terrible. His striking defense is terrible. Khamzat should knock out Roman Dolidze, should submit Roman Dolidze, and he probably should kill Roman Dolidze in that cage, you know? It's like, that's just what's going to happen if Roman Dolidze ever got in there with Khamzat Chimaev. Now, I know we're probably never seeing this because Roman would have to go on a crazy win streak. And I think he's a good guy. Like, I don't hate Roman Dolidze. I hate the way he fights, man. He's so ugly out there, man. Like, what the fuck? He walks in with the fur coat, aura in tow, ranked top 10 in 2 different divisions, and then he just, like, has the soyest fucking kicks. Like, you know that, like, meme or that one couple second clip where Armin's in the back in his debut and he fucking does that back kick very zesty? Bro, that's what Roman does in the cage. He literally throws his back fist like he's a woman, bro. What are we doing? Jesus Christ. Anyways, Roman Dolidze, I think he would die in the cage skill-wise. Yeah, he's got great submissions. He's got a great ground game. I'm not going to knock him on that. But I really, really feel like this would be a GM3 situation against Khamzat Chimaev, and he'd just get fucking chinned in the first minute, you know? So it is what it is. Yeah, we're going to move on to MVP. You know, MVP would give Khamzat some problems. I could see MVP doing well against Khamzat Chimaev, man. You know, people forget, man. Khamzat Chimaev got cracked by Gilbert Burns, and you tell me MVP's not going to crack him? You know what I mean? You know, I think MVP is also weirdly good on the ground offensively, just terrible defensively. But the weirdly good part mainly comes from size, and I think when you take that away in a Khamzat fight at middleweight, of course, we're assuming this is all middleweight, and we're going to assume most of these matchups are middleweight, I do think MVP could really chin Khamzat. Khamzat's very plotty, you know? He doesn't have much head movement. And when he is, like, getting peppered by strong shots, a.k.a. Gilbert Burns, you know, hitting him pretty heavy. What was the other one? Kamaru Usman, arguably beating him in positions, you know? I just worry that he'd get taken down and probably just fucking masterclass on the ground. But I do think there'd be at least 1 or 2 moments where this guy's bouncing, lands one really good punch. And it just comes down to, like, a 30... How old is MVP now? 38? A 38-year-old MVP being able to knock out a young Khamzat Chimaev who could be immune compromised at the time. So I would say MVP's got a chance, maybe like a 5 or 10%. Nowhere near a 50. But I think MVP's got a chance to beat Khamzat. You know, I don't think he'd ever win a round. I just think he'd be able to win inside of a round. He just wouldn't be able to win that round, if that makes sense. But yeah, outside of like a nice straight punch, I don't think MVP has a chance. When we look at like volume, I think Khamzat Chimaev would probably just press forward and do better. And then when we look at grappling, he's just going to grab him, hold him to the ground. We move on to Paulo Costa, who I think genuinely has no chance. I like Paulo Costa. I picked him to beat Kopylov in his last fight. A lot of people were against Paulo Costa in that one. And listen, Paulo's good. But he's good all around. Like, his toughness is good. You know, like, his toughness is like a 6 out of 5. Or, what the fuck did I just say? His toughness is like a 6.5 out of 10. You know? His cardio is like a 7, maybe. You know? His striking is maybe a 6.5. You know, he's got spinning wheel kicks in the bag. He caught Robert Whittaker with a nice spinning wheel kick. He's got some good moves here and there on the ground. The takedowns are possible, you know, but the problem would be is that Khamzat would just be faster. He'd be quicker to get the legs. He'd be quicker to get the body lock. And once Khamzat gets Paulo Costa down, I reckon he'd get slaughtered worse. I guess not slaughtered, but he'd probably get beaten worse than DDP. You know, like, DDP is a ball of muscle that can shuck off things and get out of the crucifix. I think Paulo Costa would get put in the crucifix and he'd instantly just be fucked. And they'd rule a TKO there. Or submitted via, like, Kimura or something like that. Via Khamzat getting top position at some point. I just think, like, the skill gap is too big. And while I do really like Paulo Costa, he's a good personality to have in the sport. I do think he's got no chance to be Khamzat. Like, not a 5, not a 1%. You know, I'd put my fucking house on Khamzat Chimaev that night. Khamzat should be a minus like 5 million in that fight. We move on. Marvin Vettori. Yeah, also no chance. I don't think Marvin dies because Marvin's got plot armor and he's able to just survive. He is fighting this weekend, so it's gonna be interesting to see if he gets chinned via Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira is a big dude, so I'll be interested to see what happens there. But I do think Marvin's skills are dog shit. He's basically a worse Paulo Costa that's tougher. Basically, he's got offensive grappling, sucks in the defensive grappling. Striking isn't that good. He boxes, but he's got no head movement. He doesn't really kick. There's like nothing else about this guy. He stands in front of you and gets punched. You know, there's really nothing else to talk about with Marvin Vettori. I think he's got no chance. I think he'd probably get his ass whooped. Easy 50-45. And the only reason why it goes to decision is because Marvin Vettori has been Kimura'd on each arm. His knees are snapped in half. And Khamzat's got him in a pretzel, but Marvin just didn't tap. And he just didn't get knocked out via the ground and pound. That's just how it would go with Marvin. But yeah, I think Marvin's got no chance. We move on. Jared Cannonier. It sucks to say. I really do like Jared Cannonier. I like my unks who can still throw down. I think Jared's like a spitting image of that. I don't think 45-year-old Jared Cannonier is going to get it done, you know? I think at 50, it's just like time to call it quits. And now that he's 51, it's just, you know, you just can't really do much with him. Even though at 52, he was still able to do well against like Marvin Vettori and a few other contenders, Gregory Rodriguez, people like that. You know, at 53, it's just like, do we really trust the chin of a 54-year-old? And then you got to think about it like, also, Khamzat's like, what, 20, 30 years younger than Jared Cannonier at Big 66 when they fight? Like, that's another thing you got to think about. So, I just think he'd be too slow on the takedown defense, even though he's got good takedown defense. And arguably, his claim to fame is beating Sean Strickland. I still don't think he won that fight. Hey, sue me, it is what it is. But yeah, I think he's got no chance. But if he was to pull the upset because he's got power, like Jared Cannonier is effectively better than these two. Pretty much. Even at his old 66 age, you know, I still think in retirement age, this guy's still better than these two. No offense, Paulo Costa. Just saying. You know, but yeah, we move on to a rematch. Robert Whittaker. You know, I do still think Robert Whittaker's got a chance. You know, I reckon he's got like a 10% chance. I don't think he'd KO Khamzat. I just really think if he locked in and he wasn't that scared of a takedown. But that's the problem with Khamzat. You know, you got to prepare for the takedown. And I really do think you got to be in the mindset of like, I don't really care if this guy takes me down. I get it. It's like, oh, but when you get taken down, da-da-da. But you really got to be in the mindset of like, I'm locked in. This is just another wrestler, and not oh shit, Khamzat's on my back. You know what I mean? Very like Corey Sandhagen, Aljo vibes I got from the Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev fight. You know, it was like you were really supposed to be able. So everything we've seen so far, you were supposed to be able to do better than you did. And I get it. His jaw sort of, or not his jaw, his like teeth unhinged or whatever it was. Weird situation. Sucks for the homie. I do still think there's like a reality that exists if Whittaker could lock in, get maybe 3-fight win streak somehow, and challenge for the belt again against maybe an older, more battle-worn Khamzat who's maybe been cracked or dropped in his last couple fights. You know, maybe we've seen like a very clear weakness on his feet. I do think Robert Whittaker would have a chance to beat him, skill-wise, you know? I think he really would. Because realistically, you either, the way you beat Khamzat is you sleep him before he gets his hands locked, or you stuff the takedowns. And I genuinely think, like, Robert Whittaker can find a way to stuff the takedowns, you know? But maybe I'm gaslighting myself because I just like him. That could also be a factor. Maybe MVP's got better odds now that I think about it. Just the way he moves. Yeah, you know? Yeah, maybe he's got like a 5% chance. I'd say Whitaker in a rematch got like a 5% chance. Like, he could win. I reckon Khamzat still should be like a minus 1,000, minus 2,000 type of situation, but Whitaker could win. It's a fight at the end of the day. But yeah, we move on. Kyle Bahalio. Good old Crimson Chin, eh? Little PIs. Am I crazy in saying Kyle Bahalio's got good odds of beating Khamzat Chimaev? Like, if Khamzat shows up with staph infection, am I crazy in saying the fighting nerds at light or at middleweight have a chance? I don't think I am, man. Because I'm thinking about it. Like, Amavov did beat Kyle. I get it. Kyle was on, like, he didn't lose for 10 years or some shit like that. Some statistic. So he is really good. He has struggled, but he mainly struggles when a guy's really good with his hands. He fought Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier gave him problems on the feet. But what I really like from Kyle Bahalio is that, like, he's still young. He doesn't get cracked, even though he's got a fucking mass. He's basically prime Marvin Vettori. He's a prime Marvin Vettori with jiu-jitsu. Is that good enough to be a 50-50, though? He's a better prime Marvin. Same toughness. Same offensive wrestling capabilities. Maybe better striking. Maybe not better boxing, but better striking, like with the low kicks. Yeah, you know? I think I'd give him like a... I think if Khamzat showed up with staph infection, I might pick Kyle Bahalio. Like, that's sort of my thinking here. You know, he is good. I know he just lost to Amavov. People forget, man. Amavov did eye poke him twice in that fight. An Amavov striking match is a very different match than a Khamzat Chimaev grappling match. You know? Kyle's a big dude. I think he could win. I do think he could win. And like a weird style, you know? Like, I feel like Kyle would be that guy to be able to stuff Khamzat's takedowns. Am I the only one that thinks that? Maybe I am. But I don't know. I think it'd be 50-50. Depending on situations, you know? Maybe not 50-50 full HP fighters, but if Khamzat's looking drained on the scale, if we're coming off like a layoff and he was sick because of that layoff, I might be picking Kyle Bahalio. You know, just saying. Talking about Khamzat Chimaev here. But yeah, moving on. Brendan Allen, I think, has no chance. Yeah, I think has no chance. I think dies. Yeah. I think he'd die. Yeah, I think he'd die. Brendan Allen has been getting cracked in almost every fight. Except for the last one he just did. I get it. He just beat Reiner de Ritter. I get it. Full glaze, whatever. Dude, this guy's dumb. He's so dumb. He puts himself on bottom against Anthony Hernandez. Dog, you put yourself on bottom against fucking Khamzat Chimaev, you're just dead. You are. I get DDP pulled guillotine. That's different. Brendan wouldn't pull guillotine. This guy would go for a fucking leg lock. Get him out. He would die. He would die in there. I don't think it would go past round one. I think Brendan Allen would get slaughtered. You know, Khamzat's really good. I think he'd probably very quickly find that body lock. Even staph infection or whatever. And the moment he gets that body lock, Brendan's staring at his corner, waiting for Bilal Muhammad to give him fucking corner advice. That's how that fight would go. And then, oh, what's this? He's crying in the corner while Khamzat's just laying elbows, cutting him up, getting bloodied. Fucking, he'd get fucked up, I think, real bad. Yeah, I think Brendan Allen would die, man. I really think he's chin. I know he hasn't, I think he hasn't been knocked out since the Chris Curtis fight, the first one. Something like that. Dude. But, like, look at the guys he fights, man. I get Amavov, whatever. He looked like shit in that Amavov fight, too. Like, he's so dumb, man. God, he's so dumb. Anyways, yeah, I think he'd die. Just either his brain would be over fucking. It'd be over calculating all the things Khamzat's about to do and just melt itself, or he would legit just die from Khamzat in that cage. Via Khamzat, probably ground and pound, to be honest with you. We move on. Israel Adesanya. I don't think he's got a chance. Listen, I know there's still people that like Izzy, and to be fair, I'm starting to like Izzy a little bit. Now, take that with a big grain of salt here. I still think this guy's a doggy diddling, drunk driving POS, but he is becoming a more likable personality now that he's not champ and he's a little bit more humbler and he's kind of just chatting shit with other fighters on podcasts. I kind of like that side of Izzy. I really, really don't like his cringe side where I'm going to leave you frozen like Elsa. Look at my frosted tips. Let me go jerk off my dog real quick and upload it to fucking Instagram. Like, what are we doing, man? Jesus. Also, born rich. Hey, bias towards the rich guys. Not really, but I do think, Mr. Silver Spoon here, I don't think he's got a chance, man. He doesn't hit the same that he did in his prime against bums. He doesn't hit the same as when he knocked out Paulo Costa, who was drunk the night before. You know what I mean? Like, I guess he hit different then. Yeah, he knocked out Pereira, who drained like 40 pounds that night. All right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really put a lot of stock in that. His striking skill would be a problem. Like, it's leagues higher than Khamzat Chimaev. But Khamzat would just find a body lock, and then Izzy's fucked. If Pereira's getting Izzy down... If Alex Pereira is getting Israel Adesanya down before he gets that black belt off the KO, I mean, brother, what the fuck do you think Khamzat Chimaev's gonna do? I just think it'd be wrestle fucking, though. I really do think it'd be a 50-45 Khamzat. And I think it would be more boring than the DDP fight. And I think it would just be Khamzat pushing Adesanya against the cage. And that's it. And that's it. That's literally it. He would hold him against the cage. Prime Murad Peter Yan style. But yeah, we move on. Anthony Hernandez. A lot of people think this guy would beat Khamzat Chimaev. And listen, I'm not in that camp, man. I'm not. Listen, I'll listen to some of the people. Okay, I hear what you're saying. He's got good grappling. Yeah, he's got good grappling. He's kind of big for the division. Yeah, he's, kind of big for the division. Bro, in my opinion, Fluffy would still get outworked. Like, he's winning because his opponents gas out and are dumb. That's it. Roman Kopylov is dumb. I like Kopylov. He's dumb. Wow, you beat Kopylov. Congrats. Fucking, what was his name? Who did he fight after that? There was one other he fought after that. And then he fought Brendan Allen in the rematch. He literally would have lost that fight if Brendan Allen had brain cells. If he had any brain cells in his cranium, he would have lost that fight. He was being uncomfortable. He was getting hurt to the body. Even in the Kopylov fight, he was getting hurt to the body. And that's another thing. Man, if I'm Khamzat Chimaev, like, I'm putting on a masterclass fucking body shot performance on this guy. Roman Dolidze gassed out and died. That's because Roman sucks. Dude, I don't put a lot of stock in that. I'm going to be real. I really don't. I really, really don't. I think Anthony Hernandez could win. I think he's got better odds than MVP. I think he's got like a 10% chance of getting maybe a 5th round submission. But we haven't even seen him go 5 rounds. That's another thing, man. So it's just like, it's very hard for me to believe in someone where I haven't seen go championship rounds. I think he went to the 4th with Roman. Or maybe it was the 3rd. I can't remember. But regardless, we haven't seen this guy go a full 5 rounds. We haven't seen this guy go against a good, legit, skilled, smart fighter. That's just a fact. And I think his next test is going to be his biggest one. And that's what we're really going to see Anthony Hernandez is made out of. In either Sean Strickland, if they fight, or, you know, a Mavov, Kyle Bahali, something's coming up the Anthony Hernandez way. I don't see it. I really don't, man. You know, I just don't think I've seen enough to be like, oh yeah, Anthony wins by fucking guillotine on Khamzat, you know? I really don't think it'd be like that. I think Khamzat would get the body lock, pick this guy up, and dunk him, you know? Not really any secret game plan from Khamzat. And I also think Khamzat's got opportunities to really fuck this guy up on the feet, you know? Or at least bait him to getting into a... And that's another thing. Bro, if Roman started shooting takedowns, correct, I could be wrong on this. I swear Roman started doing well once he started grappling. Or no, Anthony Hernandez was scared to fucking grapple with Roman until it got to the final round where he got submitted. Dude, I don't trust it. I don't trust Hernandez, man. I don't trust it. I really don't. But I think if he did win, I wouldn't be... It wouldn't be like a fucking... What's like a fluke? That like, it wouldn't... If Brendan Allen beat Khamzat Chimaev, I'll be homeless because I put all my fucking chips on Khamzat Chimaev. If Anthony Hernandez won, I would be like, damn, this guy's really good. Let me, you know, give flowers where credit is due. You know, credit where credit is due. But I just don't think he's got a good odds. I think he's got like a 25% max. A 1/4 max. But I'd probably give it like a 10%, to be honest. You know, I'll maybe like a 15%. You know, I really don't think he's that good. And he's... A lot of people like to talk about how big he is and some of the breakdowns. He's not that big. Also, this guy's been on so many interviews saying he doesn't keep up to date with what the UFC's like doing. I don't like that. Big red flag. If you're going to be a champion, if you're going to fight for the belt, I need you to be fucking locked in here. I don't need a fucking Steve Ursek part 2. Yeah, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna try my best. You know, if I grapple for 25 minutes, I'm going to grapple for 25 minutes. You know, maybe I'm Steve Nurmagomedov. I really feel like Anthony Hernandez would have the same response. Oh, I don't really have a game plan. I'm gonna go in there and you know, do my thing. I got my thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do my thing. And that's all she wrote. I think he'd get fucked up. But he could win. I just don't see it. We move on to the real pig goat. Anthony Porker Smith. Yeah, he'd die. He'd die. The armadillo technique, I'm sorry. Or, you know, I know he's on the broadcast team and everything now. But we're still waiting for that Pereira match, guys. We're still waiting for that grappling match with Pereira. You know? I think, well, it was X amount of money, and Anthony Smith starts on Pereira's back, and if Anthony Smith gets a submission, Pereira pays him, like, his fight purse. It was, like, it was fight purse, or, like, 20 grand, or it was some large sum of money. Smith agreed to it behind the scenes. We have yet to see any action from Porker Smith here. So, we're still waiting for that, you know. Corporates reached out. Yep, we're still waiting on that, okay. So, yeah, Anthony Porker Smith, I think, would die. The armadillo technique, you know, despite him being a crafty vet and getting that guillotine on Vitor Petrino, he's got no chance of that ever happening against Khamzat Chimaev, and that armadillo technique kind of works in Khamzat's favor. Because when you shell up, that's when Khamzat lands his 500 insignificant strikes. So, only in this case... Anthony Smith ain't gonna be fighting to get back up like Dricus du Plessis. So I think Khamzat Chimaev would be forced to kill Smith in there, you know, on the canvas, out cold, whatever the case may be. But yeah, we move on to... I just realized I got a lot of people on this list. Holy shit. Dricus du Plessis in a rematch. I still think it's a 50-50. And if Khamzat showed up with staph infection, I'm picking DDP. I'll say it. Hey, that promotion got me fired up. What can I say? Maybe I'm being gaslit by that promotion video he had. I am coming back for the belt. I will get the belt. I believe in Dricus du Plessis making a comeback, potentially, possibly he could. I just wouldn't pick Dricus du Plessis 100%. And, you know, I don't think I'd pick him 100%. We just saw him lose in 5 rounds. Now, he was brain dead, dumb, retarded by going and pulling 3 guillotines in that fight rather than just striking with him. First time Khamzat shoots a takedown, you pull guillotine. You're a retard. You're a retard. You just are a retard. And that's okay. We love retards around on this channel, okay? Some say I am, you know? But I do think he could win. And if he did, like, out of everyone winning right now on this list, it'd be the least shocking to see Dricus du Plessis win. I think we can all agree there. I think that'd be the least shocking. Unless you're an Anthony Hernandez glazer. I don't get it, you know? I don't get it. But I do think Dricus du Plessis, with his striking capabilities, with his never quit attitude, I don't think there's a world where Khamzat finishes the DDP. I don't. I really don't. If Khamzat tries to overextend and land big damage on the ground, that's where DDP gets up, and he knows that, and that's why Khamzat was playing safe the whole fight. You know, he was terrified of DDP getting up, and in the 5th round, we saw exactly why. Dude, DDP was whooping his ass in the 5th round before he pulled that second ghillie. You know? Fucking retard move. But he was piecing him up. He was doing well in the grappling. Even had top position at one point. So, I do think DDP's got odds to beat him. And I would reckon if Khamzat comes off this layoff, foot injury, whatever the fuck it is right now, I might pick DDP if it's an immediate rematch. But obviously that's like, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah. I think DDP would be the man to beat him. We move on. Next person on this list, Gregory Rodriguez. Who could forget, man? RoboCop. Almost forgot about this guy. RoboCop is a sick fighter. Dude, this guy hits fucking hard. Bro, people are talking about Anthony Hernandez. Dude, that's how I feel about Gregory Rodriguez. Dude, this guy hits like a truck. He's got insane jiu-jitsu. He just doesn't really use it unless somebody starts shooting takedowns on him. And yeah, he fails a shit ton of takedowns. Who cares? He's a jiu-jitsu guy. Imagine if you gave Paul Craig absolute dynamite in the hands and a little bit more chin HP. Not a lot, but a little bit more chin HP. You get Gregory Rodriguez. Dude, this guy fucking hits like a truck. He slept Jack Hermanson. I know Jack is coming off another KO, but Gregory was the first one to do it in a stylistic fashion, comeback KO. And I do think Gregory's got good odds of getting a fluke KO, like 25% chance, you know? I know he lost to Jared Cannonier. I know, I get it, right? But he gassed out and he got finished. I could see Gregory Rodriguez just landing. There's no world where you can look at me with a straight face and say at 170, Gilbert Burns is dropping, almost finishing Khamzat Chimaev, and you're going to tell me with a straight face Gregory Rodriguez has no chance of KOing Khamzat with a straight punch. And I mean specifically a straight punch because that's Gregory Rodriguez's bread and butter. I think he genuinely got good odds. I think he would KO Khamzat Chimaev if Khamzat gets hit by one of those straight rights. Those straight rights come straight from hell. You know, Kopylov had the chin of the gods that night. He wasn't able to go down from Gregory Rodriguez, but Gregory fucking still hits hard. And he's got a decent chin. Not a crazy good chin. You know, maybe like Brendan Allen level chin-ish, I'd say. He has been finished before. You know, Jared Cannonier. But his main problem is that he'll typically go all gas, no brakes. Against Khamzat, that genuinely might be what you need to do. So if Gregory won, I wouldn't be... Like, I would be more shocked if these guys won over Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory could genuinely he could find that guillotine. Like, that's a guy I trust to get a submission on the ground with Khamzat. That's a guy I trust to knock out Khamzat Chimaev. If I had to, you know, gun to my head, pick a method, Khamzat's losing. You know what I mean? But I don't think I'd pick him. I still think Khamzat would have the pace. He'd have the better cardio. I think he would be able to sort of ragdoll Gregory in moments and be able to stop the danger of Gregory. And when we get outside of round 2, that's kind of just all Gregory's, like, his power's probably gone by then, his cardio's gone by then, he's probably getting finished. But the first 2 rounds, he's got good odds to finish Khamzat Chimaev. I actually really think, I genuinely think that. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying that too. Anyways, moving on, we have Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland. I'm genuinely picking Beats Khamzat Chimaev. What do we talk about? There's only 2 ways you beat Khamzat Chimaev. You sleep him before he gets the takedown. Well, Strickland's got hands, but couldn't drop Sneeko. I don't think he's going to drop fucking... He couldn't drop Sneeko, but drops Israel Adesanya, but can't drop Khamzat Chimaev, who got dropped by Gilbert Burns. What a crazy sport UFC is. Just crazy to think about. Just some food for thought. Anyways, the craziness of how sports work, man. Yeah, Sean Strickland, I genuinely would pick to beat Khamzat Chimaev, and I'd say 10 toes down, bro. 35-year-old Sean Strickland, 36-year-old Sean Strickland, I'm picking to beat Khamzat Chimaev. He's got the wrestling background. He knows what to do on the ground. I reckon he actually... Like, the thing with Khamzat, and this is another thing I mentioned, you have to have that mentality where, like, I don't care if I get taken down. Dude, Sean Strickland's already been taken down by Khamzat Chimaev. They trained together for some time. I would bet my house that Khamzat Chimaev has taken down Sean Strickland before. I have no problems admitting that. But that doesn't matter, because Sean Strickland probably got up. And in every single match he's been fighting a grappler in middleweight, he's always got back up. And the 2 ways, kind of 3 ways you can say, the 2 ways Sean Strickland's clearly lost is a robbery decision, either razor thin close with the DDP one, that in my opinion, I still to this day think that Sean Strickland should have got that decision. However, I'm not too upset with DDP winning because of how close the fight was. I just think Sean Strickland deserved it. I do still think he beat Jared Cannonier. So you have to rob him in a decision, which could happen. But outside of robbing him in a decision, dude, I genuinely think Sean Strickland beats Khamzat almost everywhere. Khamzat's takedowns are not technical. He gets a body lock and he drags you down. DDP has done that before against Sean Strickland. Other people have done that. Sean Strickland gets up. Dude, Sean Strickland is the guy to beat Khamzat Chimaev, and they're not going to book it because Khamzat, you don't want the smoke against a former training partner, you know? And Sean Strickland just pulled out of the fight with Anthony Hernandez because they don't want to fight in Australia, because he doesn't want to get half his purse taken away by the government in Australia. It is what it is. But it is pedo stash era Strickland is not my favorite. When he goes back to being do-rag Deshaun, I do think do-rag Deshaun Strickland. I think I would pick him. I would pick him. I think on the feet, Strickland's going to have more volume. I think he's going to have the better head movement. I think he's going to get hit the least. And I think when we look at the ground, Khamzat's going to what? Hug him? And you know what Sean Strickland's going to do? He's going to find a way to his feet. I've seen him do it. This isn't a DDP situation where I'm trusting that DDP wins by a Looney Tunes RKO. This is... I've seen Sean Strickland do this. He's going to do this. I'd pick Sean Strickland to beat Khamzat Chimaev, genuinely. I would. You know? And people forget, you know, some people might think, oh, but in the rematch against DDP, he got slaughtered. He had staph infection, and he put on a pedo stash for some reason. I don't know why. It was rigged. It is what it is. And DDP got married, like, that week. Like, bro, come on, just... get the plot armor out of here and he fucking wins, okay? If you remove the plot armor out of the Khamzat Chimaev fight and we go skill for skill, bang for bang, Strickland whoops Khamzat. It is what it is. We move on to Nasruddin Imavov. He's got odds. I'd say he's got the highest out of the not close bunch. I would still pick Khamzat, and I would be very confident in Khamzat. I would say he's got like a 25 to 35% chance of winning. He does hit hard. He could sleep Khamzat. Like, this is where, like, Sean Strickland wins, in my opinion, via stuffing takedowns and just outlanding him. Imavov would have to sleep him before Khamzat gets, like, that body lock. I know Imavov's good on the ground and everything, but it's different when you get body locked and you're just being dragged down and held on the ground. So I would probably still pick Khamzat Chimaev to beat Imavov. But I think he's got good odds. He's got striking technique. He's just sloppy. His cardio is questionable. He cheats all the time, so he would get away with cheats. Now, if we're taking in consideration he's not getting any points reduced from cheating, I'd put him in the 50-50. I think they would take points away because it is Khamzat Chimaev. So if Imavov eye pokes Khamzat, instant point deduction right away. It's cooked. But yeah, I'd probably say he's got like a 35% chance-ish of beating Khamzat. I don't think it's that high. I don't think it's that low. And if he did win, I wouldn't be as shocked as, like an Adesanya doing it or whatever. But if he lost, I wouldn't be that surprised either. We move on. Okay. Alex Pereira. At light heavyweight / heavyweight, depending on situations. Like, we could be looking 3 years down the road. Pereira's heavyweight champion. Chimaev has defended his belt once, moved up, fought at light heavyweight. And now in Big 2030, we're looking at Alex Pereira versus Khamzat Chimaev for the heavyweight belt. Some timeline like that. I'm picking Alex Pereira. Bro, first minute KO. The moment. It would look like how it did with the Ankalaev rematch. The only difference would be the moment Pereira lands that overhand right that wobbled Ankalaev, that would put Chimaev to sleep. I'll give Ankalaev credit for eating that shot. That shot I genuinely think puts out everyone at middleweight, and maybe not Marvin Vettori, and everyone at light heavyweight. I think it genuinely puts them all out. I do. I genuinely think that punch that Ankalaev took, then was concussed, laid on the ground, got elbowed like a bitch. I think that would put to sleep everyone in the division that Pereira's been champion at. So I would pick Alex Pereira to beat Khamzat Chimaev purely for the danger. Dude, it's not even fucking close when we talk about danger. Khamzat could win like a boring decision. I mean, listen, do you guys know another guy who's got a KO and earned his black belt via a KO? That's the first time I've ever seen a black belt awarded via KO. So, the aura on this man, Alex Pereira, is crazy. I think he'd absolutely fucking sleep Khamzat Chimaev if they fought at light heavyweight or heavyweight. But yeah, I don't think it'd be close. We move on. Tom Aspinall. Actually, we'll do light heavyweights. Who do we have at light heavyweight on this list? Okay. Jamal Hill. I don't know what timeline we would be living in where Jamal Hill and Khamzat Chimaev are fighting for a belt, but guys, it's possible, okay? It's possible, okay? I reckon I would probably not pick Jamal Hill unless I saw something really, really wrong with Khamzat Chimaev. But dude, I know Jamal Hill's got wacky striking. His striking's very ugly, since he didn't train for 2 years for some dumb reason after his Achilles tear. But he still did go to war with Yuri on the feet, and I do actually think Jamal's a really good anti-grappler. I think that's why he did so well against Glover. I think he might, this is the thing. I'll put him in the not close. I think he might be able to stuff the takedowns. 40% chance-ish. I'd have to see something really, really wrong with Khamzat. Really bad weight cut, sick that night, puffy face, some shit like that. But I do think Jamal Hill would be able, I don't know. That's the thing. On paper, I think he stuffs the takedowns. But I don't actually know. I can't 100% say he stuffs the takedowns. So I'm going to put him in the not close. Basically a 40% chance. Jamal Hill could win, given the skill set and the size. I do kind of think Khamzat's not really filled in middleweight yet. He still needs to be bigger. And if we're talking light heavyweight and he's moving up to light heavyweight, I think Jamal's got a chance, man. I do. If we're looking at a weird situation, number one contender, vacant light heavyweight belt, and Jamal's back in the win column or some shit like that, I think that'd be interesting. Almost forgot about this middleweight. We have Reiner de Ridder. Interesting position to put him in. Reiner de Ridder, I think I would pick him, but I would pick him 51-49. 51-49-ish. You know? Like, it'd be very close. I'd be way more confident in Strickland and Pereira. Reiner de Ritter's problem is that he gaslights you into thinking he's dog shit. And I know what's going to happen. I already know this is going to happen. Listen, I get it. He just lost to Brendan Allen. Horrible loss in hindsight. I shit on Brendan Allen. This guy's dumber than a fucking doornail. Dude, gets wobbled by GM3 and then goes on a winning streak when I pick him to lose. And now we're looking at, oh, would you look at that? He's fighting Khamzat Chimaev, you know? God damn, man. But I do think with the Brendan Allen thing, he went on an interview saying he has cardiac arrest when he goes upstairs sometimes. So maybe it's a medical condition. And I'm putting it all on the fact that was a medical condition that caused him to quit in that fight. Quit on the stool, I mean. He's done it before, so at this point I don't really doubt it. But he didn't really look that okay, he did look defeated, I get it. But he didn't look like that. Like he wasn't crying or anything. It was just like, fuck, man, I can't do this, you know? So it could have been a medical condition, so I get it. I would, if Reiner showed up with Saf, I'm picking Khamzat, but I'd probably have to put him here. Yeah, I think this is fair. I think Reiner de Ritter would do really, really well. You know, I think the knees to the body. I think Reiner is so big and thick that pause. Reiner would be able to like outland and outstrike Khamzat on the feet, even though it's goofy and he did get cracked by GM3. I think he would be able to survive any striking of Khamzat because Khamzat really does just wing shit and he really overcommits with shots, leaving him open to a lot of shit. And that's where I think the Demigorgon and Reiner de Ritter would be able to take over. I do think when we get to the grappling, I kind of think Reiner would be that guy to submit him from bottom. Like, if anyone's submitting him from bottom, it is still Reiner de Ritter. We can all say that. I'm comfortable with admitting that. And I do think, while he would not work himself back up, as long as he doesn't get into cardiac arrest, and that's kind of where the 50-50 comes into play. Maybe I'll put him here. Yeah, I'll put him here. I think DDP in a rematch got better odds, just because of the cardiac arrest, you know? You never know. Maybe he gets cardiac arrest when he takes the step into the cage. You never know, you know? But he was doing really well against Brendan Allen in the first round, and then maybe his legs gassed out, or whatever the case may be with the Brendan Allen fight. He just needs to come in with a different game plan, and I think he beats a guy like Khamzat. Khamzat's very simple. Reiner's talked about it before. I believe him. I think he would do really well against Khamzat Chimaev. It'd be an interesting one. I reckon it's a 50-50. Pretty much predicated on cardiac arrest and staph infection and all that other shit, injuries, stuff like that. But I think Reiner de Ritter, if he gets back in the win streak, he does have good odds of beating Khamzat. Yeah, we move on. Jiří Procházka. As much as I want to say Jiří could finish Khamzat Chimaev, dude, I think style-wise, it's just not it. Dude, I really think style-wise, it's just not it. Yeah. Dude, because here's the thing, right? Jiří's so fun, and he's exciting, and he does spinning shit, and, you know, striking sick, and he's got heat in the hands, and his grappling offensively is great. Does get cracked. I wouldn't worry about that in the Khamzat fight. The thing is, though, is that Jiří would be doing head movement, and he would be trying to predict striking shit, while Khamzat just shoots a blast double leg. Oh, and Jiří's taken down. Oh, and Jiří's being laid on. You know, and Jiří's messing around with the idea of going to middleweight. So to me, I do think he's bigger than Khamzat and everything like that. I would really worry if this is like Jiří moving down to fight for the belts. I think we would be looking at Khamzat Chimaev, probably 49-48. You know, Jiří gets one round because he was able to land some strikes on the feet, bust up Khamzat Chimaev's face. Probably the 5th round because Jiří wouldn't quit. Yeah, I'd say he's got like a 10%. Maybe he's got a chance to win. He's got a chance to win in like that 5th round. But I do think he'd just get smothered. I think he'd get laid on. I think he'd get taken down, wrist control, not really able to do much. The thing is that he tries to make too many predictions, you know? And that's sort of where I think he got caught with Alex Pereira. He kept on trying to predict like the high kick coming and kept on trying to predict the hook and everything with that like head bob he's doing. But he was doing it so much that it made it like almost predictable, you know? He didn't keep his hands up and he went to go grab the kick as Pereira went for it. That's what slept him in the rematch. So I think it'd be a rough night for Yuri, but you know, he could get it done. I don't see it. I don't see it. I really like Yuri. I like Yuri far more than I like Khamzat. I just don't think Yuri is the style to beat Khamzat, if that makes sense, you know? Yuri kills people on the feet because they're stand-up and they're not able to get the grappling going. Khamzat would be able to get the grappling going. That's kind of how I see that fight. We move on. Ilia Topuria. Ilia Toptoro. I mean, do I need to say any less? I mean, this guy sleeps them in one. It's Ilia. Bro, Ilia gets in there. He can put anybody out. Yeah, oh no, here comes the double leg. Douche hook. Dead on the canvas. Face first. Khamzat's out cold. Ilia Topuria is the first guy to get 4 belts. Featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, and at that time, he'd be getting the middleweight belt. Ilia Topuria's king. He'd probably smoke him. I'd give him less odds than Pereira. Pereira, I'm like 101% sure. Ilia Topuria, I'm only like 100% sure. So yeah, we'll give Ilia a nice little 100% sure there. Tom Aspinall, similar situation. Too big, and outside of eye pokes, there really is no weakness other than illegal moves. In Aspinall's game so far, yeah, he's got touched. It happens. He's also touched other people. They've died. Khamzat would die. Khamzat would die with the first one too. Simple as that, you know? I'd be 100% certain. Maybe more than Strickland. Yeah, I think he wouldn't even be able to get the takedown either, because I think Aspinall would be too fast for the sprawl and everything. So, yeah, I'd pick Aspinall. I think that's very clear. Waldo Cortez Acosta, funnily enough, we're going to kind of speed through some of these. This video is getting long. Waldo, I think, would beat him. Funnily enough, I think Waldo Salsa Boy, former baseball player Acosta, beats Khamzat Chimaev. You know, in a world where we're living with Waldo versus Khamzat Chimaev for the heavyweight belts, I'm picking Waldo Cortez Acosta. 10 toes fucking down, okay? He stuffed, I think, every takedown that's been attempted at heavyweight. And Khamzat's not built for heavyweight, so he'd be a thick boy at heavyweight. I don't think he'd get the takedown. And I think Waldo's got heat in his hands, and I think Waldo's heat percentage is high enough to sleep out cold Khamzat Chimaev before he gets on that double. You know? He maybe does a very obvious shoot, and you just see Waldo do a fucking flying knee or a fucking nice little check right hook right to the dome. I think that would really put out Khamzat Chimaev. Yeah, we move on. Tai Tuivasa doesn't have a chance, but weirdly enough, he'd probably survive. He probably would. He's just too thick. Khamzat just wouldn't be able to find that Kimura, you know, because Tai would just like absorb it into his own fat. But yeah, I think Tai would probably have no chance. Similar to like Marvin Vettori, almost too tough for their own good, where like I don't see him getting finished or anything, but he's just not doing shit. And if you're wondering why Tai Tuivasa here, people forget, man, this guy was in a #1 contender fight with Cyril Gane for the heavyweight belt at one point. Just think about that. Anyways, a little food for thought. We move on. John Diddy Jones. Now, if we're talking about John Jones with baby oil, he probably does beat Khamzat Chimaev. Probably is able to slip past those takedowns and really use his reach advantage, his genetic disadvantage, you know, just terrible genetics at birth, guys. I mean, you know, what can you do when you have the longest reach in the division? Just sucks, you know. But yeah, I think John Jones got good odds. I think Waldo's got better odds. Because the thing with John Jones, though, he wouldn't be able to finish Khamzat. You know, you wouldn't be able to submit him. You wouldn't be able to outland him on the feet. Or, sorry, he wouldn't be... He'd be able to outland him on the feet with those illegal oblique kicks and the illegal eye pokes. And because it's John Jones, he gets the John Jones pass for eye pokes. He's just allowed to do an infinite amount. So he just oblique kick, oblique kick. I think it would look a lot like the Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown fight. If John Jones is like role-playing Gabriel Bonfim. Just low kick, low kick, low kick. Khamzat does something. Maybe separate. Low kick, low kick. You know, and eventually just point fight his way to a decision against Khamzat. You know, that baby oil would be able to save him from those takedowns. So it'd be a rough night for Khamzat Chimaev, let me tell you. We move on. Joshua Van. Dude, this guy wins just because of aura. I mean, come on now. It's fucking Joshua Van. This guy would show up on 2 weeks' notice, up 5 weight classes to fight Khamzat, and fucking smoke him. I'd pick him, bro. I would pick him. I would pick him. I'd be lying if I say I wouldn't. You put a lie detector test on me right now, I'm picking Joshua Van. Alright? Our little Peter Yan. He might not be able to get the flyweight belt, but he sure as shit will get the middleweight belt if he gets that short notice step up. Alright? We just need to see it happen. Joshua Van, Khamzat Chimaev. But yeah, I probably would pick Joshua Van purely because of aura, legacy, everything like that. Youngest champion, whatever. He would be the first champion to win in the 2000 era, or the fighters who were born in the 2000 era. I think he was born 2001. Saw that stat recently. If he beats Pantoja, I don't think he does. He could, but I don't think he does. I think he beat Khamzat Chimaev though. We move on. Jake Paul. In case they were ever to do a crossover with Jake Paul fighting at middleweights in the UFC. You know, I think he sleeps Khamzat, guys. You know? No, Jake Paul would die. He would genuinely die. No chance. No chance Jake Paul has any chance of surviving in that cage with Khamzat. Khamzat would actually fuck him. Like, fuck him. Like, take his pants down and fuck him in that cage. That's what Khamzat would do. You know, the amount of shit that Jake Paul has done, you know, the rioting, the looting, saying certain slurs, you know what I mean? Crypto scams. Well, actually, that'd be right up Khamzat's alley, you know, doing crypto scams. So maybe Khamzat wouldn't kill him out of pure pity or pure brotherhood, if you will. You know, both being scammers. And I know Logan did crypto scams, but dude, people forget Jake Paul also did crypto scams. It was just on a lower level. It was during the South Park coin, whatever the fuck it was. It was called something so dumb. Not Diddy. What was it called? Doodles? Something like that. Some stupid fucking coin Jake Paul was promoting at the time. But since then, he's been a little bit better of a person. But because he's been a better person, Khamzat might kill him because of that. Because Khamzat just gets triggered whenever people are good. But then he also doesn't like soy boys like Ian Gary. And he just gets pissed whenever Ian Gary mentions his name in the back room. You know, a punch ends up being a tap on the shoulder. Shit like that. You know, just Khamzat Chimaev things. Yeah, I think Jake Paul would survive. I just don't think he'd win. I think he'd get dominated, probably submitted round 1. I don't think he'd die in there, though. You know? Might even rock Khamzat into Khamzat shooting a takedown, but I don't think he'd be able to sleep him. But yeah, that's been my list for who beats Khamzat Chimaev. In order, I do genuinely believe all these takes. Of course, there's some satire mixed in here. You know, obviously we have Reiner de Ritter. That one I'm taking completely seriously. John Jones, yeah, you can put him anywhere. But yeah, this is the list. We probably won't ever see 99% of these matchups, and we're most likely only gonna get the Amavov one, and Khamzat's gonna retire due to his body being too weak. It is what it is. But yeah, that's been my list. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, being an hour long, I want to thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you have a beautiful day.